Visor in person was worse than Visor as a hologram. There's nothing horrible about him. Not in his normal, Andalite body, at least. Lights are strange looking, for sure, but they aren't frightening. But I had met a real one. You could feel the difference between a real Andalite and an evil beast that was Visor-free, like he glowed with some dark light, a light that casts a shadow over your mind. Visor-free, even Chapman feared him. Around the Visor, 2 Harbinger bodyguards were deployed. Each held a Dracon beam, not that they ever looked like they needed weapons. They were weapons. Marco called them walking styled shears. They were walking razor blades. Wickedly curved blades raked forward in their foreheads, more on their elbows and wrists. Their feet like Tobias' talons, only much bigger like Tyrannosaur feet. They were 7 feet tall, maybe a bit more at a spiked tail. The only told us Harbinger were good people, enslaved by Yerks, but it's hard to look at Harbinger and think they're anything but killing machines. Beside the Harbinger came 4 Taxons. Imagine a centipede. Now imagine a centipede twice the length of a man and just as big around. Imagine a centipede holding the upper third of its body erect. Imagine pointing legs like steel pins below and small legs like little claws closer to the head. Not that it had a real head. It had 4 separate globs like chopped up red jello, and there was Taxon's eyes. At the very top was a mouth. The mouth was perfectly round and lined with row after row of small needle teeth. And I told us the Taxons were all voluntary hosts. They were allies of the Yerks, and yet as horrible as both of these were, it was Visor-free had made your skin crawl. Without the hologram communicator communicating in his usual fashion, he thought spoke much like we all did in Morph. That is the Andalite bandit, he asked Chapman. Yes, Visor. He advanced toward me, almost mincing on his delicate Andalite legs, looking like a cross between a deer, human, and scorpion. He aimed his main eyes at me, his stalk-eyed scanning area always watchful. He brought his face close to the cage. I was staring right in his face. I could see his nose slits open and close as he breathed. I could feel his large, almond-shaped eyes narrow as he peered inside to get a better look. He was only inches away. I should have tried to reach through the door bars and try to bloody him a little, but fear was all over. I was sick with it. I wasn't ashamed to admit that. I couldn't stand his eyes watching me. I turned away, afraid to look. Not so brave now, my Andalite friend, Visor asked. It was my first time he was directly spoken to the Visor. His voice was in my head, threatening and cruel and foul beyond description. A voice full of power and hate. When he called me Andalite, I almost burst out, No, not Andalite, a human! A human! Like I feel the terrible force of his will battering me. And instant I knew. I wouldn't survive his questioning. I would end up telling him everything. His power was a million times greater than mine. His will was a vast, huge, irresistible thing, and what was I? Just some foolish little girl. A foolish, lost little girl. And yet, even as I felt my own mind wither for the black terror of Visor-free, another mind came forward. There's another in my head with me. Someone whose species memory had no images of Visor-free. Fluffer. Fluffer's mind contained fears, but they were different. Fluffer feared big predator birds. He feared loud, aggressive dogs. He feared dominant male cats. But Fluffer was not impressed by Visor-free. On the verge of panic, I let the mind cat take over. I sank back, hiding behind a cat calm cat brain. He took the cage from Chapman. He lifted it up so I can see inside better. And what did I do? What did Fluffer do? He stuck his little pink nose up the bars and sniffed the air. He wanted to find out what this creature was, and that meant getting a good smell. This is similar to the orange and black creature that invaded the pool, Visor-free said. It took me a second to track on this, and I realized he meant Jake. Jake meant his tiger morph. Yes, Visor, they are a family of animals. Felines. These are the smallest. I see you damaged my servant, isn't this 226, Andalite said to me. No one ever accused you Andalites of lacking courage. You are a race of fools, but brave. What was I supposed to say? Thank you. Why not answer me, Andalite? I know you hear my words. This charade is pointless. I know what you are. I said nothing. I tried to think nothing, afraid if I said anything he'd know I wasn't an Andalite, and if he realized I was human, the others would never be safe. I had to stay in this body. I had to die in this body and take my secret with me. He moves my cage right down. Now, where is the girl? I have promised her to Ignis 455. Ignis 455 is a spawn mate of yours, I believe. We'll do the infestation aboard the mothership and have the girl return tomorrow. Where is she? Visor, The mask of politeness dropped from him in a microsecond. He mechanics barely followed the movements that are so swift. He grabbed Chapman around the neck and his Andalite tail arched forward. The dagger pointed the tails on his face. Do you defy me? It was a hiss, the hiss of a snake. No, Visor, he was shaking like a leaf. I would never defy you. It's only the host, Chapman. He and the one rebelled. Aren't you able to control your host? Visor sneered. Do you think the Andalite mind that still lives in this body never exists? Do you think your host is more powerful than mine? This wasn't going well for him, either the real human or your controller. Visor, I only report the facts. My host is under control, but I'm constantly in contact with humans, occupy a responsible position in their society. I can't ever have my host body cause me a twitch and shake. They see such things as signs of mental illness. I could lose my position. I would be no use to you. You are barely of use to me now. Visor, my host wishes begs leave to address you directly. He hesitated. I saw the stuck-eye scan around, checking for signs of threats. Instinctively, I looked around too. I had no way of knowing how well his eyes could see in the dark, but for me, the darkness was no barrier. I looked around. I didn't know what I was looking for. All I saw were Heartbridger and Taxons, York ships, silent and dark, and building and forlorn construction equipment at sight. But then I caught a glimpse of movement. It was in the woods that bordered the construction site, a swift side-to-side movement, just sort of thing my cat eyes noticed best. But I stared further, I saw nothing else. Maybe just another Heartbridger patrolling. I will allow the host to address me, Visory said. I craned my neck up as well as I could to watch, and for a moment nothing happened. Suddenly Chapman sagged. Like he was a marionette and someone had cut his strings. He collapsed straight down, his legs just twisted under him. He tried to stand up, as if he didn't know how to make his legs work. They would jerk and kick out, but he couldn't stand. Finally gave up. I'm sorry, Visor free. The real human Chapman was out of control, his own body slowing, barely remembered how to move or speak. Visor free, he said again, his voice slurry and strange. Speak, you fool. Do you think I can stay here forever? Visor free, we had a deal. You know I never wanted to join you. My wife did, but I said no. But then my wife, no longer my wife then, of course. He suddenly began to cry, and I could see the tears clearly. My wife who was no longer my wife who was one of your creatures, threatened to give you my daughter. He managed to run clumsy hand to his eyes. I forgive her. She was weak, and you feed on weakness. Yes, get to the point. Heartbridger moved closer. He muttered something and moved away. I couldn't hear or understand what he said, but Lucy was reminding they shouldn't hang around. The point is that I agreed to be a host. I agreed to he was about to throw up. I agreed to surrender my freedom, to be a controller, to stop this filthy thing in my head, to accept your control. I agreed, but only if you would spare my daughter. It felt like my heart had stopped beating. Chapman control her to save Melissa. He gave more in his life to save his daughter. The situation has changed. The Chapman person is an important part of our work. We can't have him in danger by some uncontrollable human. The girl, Melissa, is no threat, but he showed himself again with his clumsy legs and awkward arms. He rose to his knees. Then slowly he stood up. He was wobbling and swaying, but he was standing. The girl is no threat, he repeated in a stronger and more confident voice. But I am. Chapter 21. You, a threat, Visifree laughed. He reached out one hand and pushed lightly on Chapman's chest, and he fell back sprawled on the dirt. His head was inches from the door of my cage. Tears were streaming down the side of his face. If you harm my daughter, I will fight you. I will fight you forever. Ask your Yerk if he believes me. He knows me better than anyone. Ask Isness 226 if I will fight for my daughter. Chapman closed his eyes. The tears stopped and his eyes opened again. He picked himself quickly from the ground and stood for a Visor free. The York slug was in charge again. Before he stood, I saw something that frightened me all over again. It was Chapman's watch. The time is now 9:28. I have about 17 minutes before I hit the 2-hour limit. The host will attempt to disrupt you. Yes, Visor, and the woman as well. She is not as strong as this one, but she will gain control of one hand. Perhaps she has deeper strengths than we knew. He has safer going on. I could smell the fear in him. I am more of use for the passive voluntary host, but I am your tool, Visor. I will do as you command. Yes, you certainly will. But you have brought me the Andalite bandits. He nodded at me, and this one will occupy my time for a little while. Leave the girl for now. Now get out. You tempt my patience. Chapman didn't need a second invitation. He jumped in the car and tore out of there. Melissa was safe, as safe as she would ever be. That was something. Not much, but something. Move out, Visor yelled. I saw Heartbridger respond instantly to his command. The nearest one snatched me up and suddenly moving fast toward the blade ship. In seconds it'd all be over. I was boarding the Visor ship, I would leave the Earth. The only thing in my future was pain. Maybe I'd die for betray my friends. A depressing sort of thing to hope for. So, what's happening now? I jumped and spun around in my cage. Jake, is that you? Who else would it be? You know anyone else who'd be a talking flea? Jake, you're supposed to get away and be safe. Yeah, right, like I was gonna abandon you. Listen, I can hear his thought speech, but I don't know where we are. We're about 10 feet away from being loaded in the blade ship, and I have 15 minutes left for untrapped. 15 minutes? Great, if you have 15, I have 10. Jake, get out of here. You can't be trapped as a flea. The door of the blade ship slid open silently. I can see a dark red light inside. I can see a handful of Taxons seem to be staying over control panels of some sort. Heartbridger standing at attention. I'm not getting out of here. None of us are. None of the rest are fleas too. No, but they should be around, so I suppose they follow us and lead the Earth to where we ended up. They can't do anything. Oh, really? I bet they'll try. At that moment, I heard a strange sound. My cat brain didn't recognize what Hugh and me did. It was an engine, a big one, like a big truck, maybe a tractor or an earth mover. The Heartbridger carrying me saw it too. He ran to the blade ship and tossed me down. Then he ran back to the Visor, who waited at the doorway. I think they started earth movers, the whole Jake. Then I guess it's time for me to get in this fight too. I'm gonna try a quick double morph. Hope it works. Here goes nothing. All at once, the open door of the blade ship spotted earth mover, leveled at a painfully slow speed, but leveled right toward the blade ship. Get us in the air, Visor shouted. The nearest task is like a slithery snake speech, sounded like shree shree shnurp shnurp sheet. 2 minutes to lift off? Too long. His tail whipped forward. I saw a huge gash open the flesh of the Taxon, and greenish and yellow goo poured out. The other Taxons all looked kind of excited. They were waving little arms and snapping their little claws. You and you, get off the ground. The rest of you may feed on this fool. The wounded Taxon emitted a wailing, slithery scream. The Earthly rushed at him, their circular mouths fastened on their fellow Taxons, writhing flesh again, chewing and tearing at him. The sound of a diesel engine grew louder. Lucifer was rapping out orders. Harbinger ran through a door and back outside. Then saw something happening in the dark corner of the cabin over past the horrific Taxon feeding frenzy. Something was growing, a human being growing out of nothing. Jake! Can't talk, don't distract me. Lucifer was in a rage. You could feel the waves of anger radiating around a small space. Destroy that machine, he ordered. Outside, Harbinger took aim at 5 tons of slow-moving steel. Jake was still cowering in a corner, began to change once more. In darkness, I could see the beginning of a pattern of stripes. Black and orange, stripes of a tiger. It's time for me to do my part. I concentrated and felt the changes begin. The cage grew small around me. Rumbling, the earth mover closed in. The near-dead Taxon screamed as his fellow Taxons ate him alive. Suddenly I saw a bright red light. There was a sizzling sound. I saw the earth mover just disintegrate. My heart was in my throat. Marco, Cassie, had they gotten away? I had to concentrate, just ignore the screams. I just started wondering where Cassie and Marco had been on the earth mover when it was hit. I had to control my morph. Not that far, Rachel. Not too much. I could not become human, not totally human. Looked down my paw, short stubby fingers that appeared. I stuck my stubby half-human hands through the bars of the cage and found a lock. One of the feeding Taxons looked away from his meal just long enough. You're snitch. It waved his creepy front legs in my direction. Lucifer snapped around and glared at me with ferocious hatred. I opened the door of my cage, and Jake leaped through the air as huge claws outstretched. I flew out of the cage, a clumsy mass of fur and skin. The creature was half human and half cat. And Jake hit Lucifer in the side. This time you're mine, you jerk. Lucifer fell over, tangled up in tiger. His deadly tail flashed and missed. Jake ripped the Vital's flesh with claws infinitely bigger than mine. It was a great pleasure hearing Vital's scream that way, but I had other things to worry about. I couldn't move in this morph. I concentrated on regaining my cat form. I had only minutes left for 2 hours to be up. Jake rolled off of Vital's just a handful of Harbinger rushing to his defense. Run, Jake yelled. Run, I agreed. We ran. I was back fully in fluffer shape. I could do 30 miles an hour as fast as a human being could run. Unfortunately, Harbinger are faster. Jake was fast but still for short distances, fast without running Harbinger there after us, but he wasn't going to leave me behind. Jake turned and I came for the closest Harbinger. I saw him flying over my head, a huge beast, orange and black striped. Harbinger went down hard. Get out of here, Rachel, you're too small to fight these guys. But there was another one on my tail, faster than me. I dodged left and it shot past me. I turned my sharply little pad scrabbling on dirt. He grabbed me but missed. Something was moving and it was big. The earth was rumbling. A second earth mover was grinding forward on his tank treads. Marco and Cassie had started another one. I raced toward the nearest half-finished building. Had to get away and morph back. Time was up. In minutes I'd be trapped. I saw a dark hole and flew toward it in a single leap. The hole led to under a wall. The open entered a shallow basement. There was a concrete floor about 2 feet over my head. I was safe with enough room to morph back. I tried to concentrate. All by now my little concrete shelter heard growls and alien cries. Heard the rumble of the earth mover. I thought I heard the sizzle of beams. Human, I told myself, returned to human. Only minutes left. Then I heard a shattering noise, and another, some kind of giant was stomping around. The giant steps stopped. I was frozen and I didn't even think, let alone morph. Crash! All around me pillars of rock-hard, scaled flesh, each as big around as a tree trunk ripped in the concrete. Crunch! The concrete was lifted off of me, torn away like paper. I was exposed and trapped, and standing over me like a shattered concrete floor with a mighty hand was a beast made of living rock. You won't get away so easily, Visitor said. Chapter 22. It was all over. I knew I was done for. Nothing in the world could stop the beast Visitor had morphed into. He was 20 feet tall, as tall as a telephone pole. He stood on 3 massive legs, each as big around as a redwood tree. He had a tiny head much bigger than a human one. He looked funny, so there's nothing funny about what he was doing. With 2 long, mighty arms, he was casually tearing up the concrete, slamming his fingers into cement. He ripped up in slabs and tossed them over his shoulder. One of them hit a Harbinger and crushed him. I don't think he even noticed or cared. I ran. Crash when his huge hand slammed down in front of me. I scampered back and turned. Crash! Another hand like living rock slammed in front of me. Even the cat in me knew it was hopeless against this thing. Visitor turned, glared down at me with tiny bright eyes and that weirdly tiny head. He reached for me with both hands cupped together. Forming a wall around me. Crunch. Then he hesitated. Boom. I bolted. I leapt over the top of the wall. 6 feet straight up, and trust me, as scared as I was, I could have jumped even higher. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw what happened. Near mover ground forward and slammed into one of the bug fighters. It exploded. Visibly roared in fury. I didn't envy the harbinger and tasks that the earth mover get through. I ran along the top of the wall. It was cinder block full of holes only a few inches wide. It was a much tougher challenge than the balance beams in gymnastics, but I was running as fast as a very scared kitty can run. I'll kill you all. Fools! Viceroy screamed. Hoping he would just forgive me, but I heard the thunder of his walk. In 2 steps he caught up. His huge hand swept toward me. He was 10 feet to the ground, and the ground was covered in rusted, twisted metal. I had no choice. I leaped. The sharp metal was rushing up, and his hand was sweeping toward me. Something sharp bit into my back. The ground was no longer rushing up at me, instead I was zoomed through the air. Jeez, Rachel, next time I'll turn into a kitty, pick one who doesn't eat so much. Tobias! I can take you as far as the trees, that's it. I had to work back, my time's up. We flew toward the trees, Tobias trying to keep us in the air. I knew his limits was endurance. Drop me now. We were in the trees, and he dropped me. I fell through the air, my tail pivoted and kept my balance perfect. A tree branch, slam! My claws dug into bark. I was already morphing back as I dropped to the ground, landing in soft pine needles. Through the trees, I could see a huge beast of his visory rampaging in a fury. The huge archer to the left were tossed around like toys. Taxons were crushed under his feet. And this is why I shouldn't take the eagles to Mordor. Yeah, that's a good reason. I think he's mad we got away, Tobias said. Jake, the ears didn't make it. They're fine. Jake and morph back into human before going to Tyre. They didn't have a problem at the time. Martin has feathers, little centuries. Okay, Cassie too. I collapsed on the ground. I had escaped. I had survived. I knew I should have been glad, but all I felt was tired. 23. Melissa's in our next gymnastics class. She was still alive and free. I acted nonchalant as I changed my leotard and stretched out. I did watch me open her locker and pull out an envelope. She opened it and read the words I put there. Melissa, your father loves you more than you'll ever know. More than he can ever show you. Signed, someone who knows. I prayed out in my word process so she wouldn't recognize any handwriting. Maybe just my imagination, but she seemed more into practice that day. After my mom picked me up and drove me home, I hooked up with the others. They hadn't gotten together a couple days since the battle at the construction site. I guess I had some things to think about. How's Melissa? Cassie asked. I shrugged. I left her a note. I told him what it said. I know it's bad for security, Jake, and Marco, I know it's sentimental, but I don't care. Chapman gave everything to save his daughter from being made into a host. I had to do something. Jake nodded. It's okay. Maybe it'll help. Cassie smiled at me, telling me she was proud of what I'd done. Marco rolled his eyes, but he didn't say anything. Well, we destroyed a Yerk bug fire who made Vice very nervous, and we came out alive, Marco finished. Yeah, that too, Jake agreed with a grin. That's very important. Next time, Marco cried in horror. There will be a next time, Tobias said. There'll be a next time until the Andalites return. And that's book 2 all done up.